Hey, what's up, guys? This is Cloud9 here today. This is actually going to be something a bit old school. I'm going to do a response video. Yeah, I know many of you on YouTube probably don't even know what that is. Because it's something that they kind of retired, I think, like back in like 2010, 2011. But I've been on YouTube quite a while. And with that being said, I'm responding to my friend Barbi Cosplay's video on Do Blurred Women Love Blurred Men. So this is an interesting topic, right? Because this is something that a few of my friends and I would probably talk about, like not daily, but we've talked about a lot of, especially over the past few years. Especially being a blurred guy, um, and I feel like I've seen quite a bit, right? So I really think it depends on the time, the frame in time you're speaking on. Now, if you haven't seen Barbie Cosplay's video, make sure you check it out. Make sure you give her a like. Make sure you subscribe to her channel as well. Very good video, by the way. But I'm not and I want to also make sure I state this too for the record. I'm not a woman. I don't identify as a woman or anything like that. I'm just talking from perspective of a man. I really think it can vary, at least from, my experiences or experiences of other people or even talking to women themselves. So like looking back at maybe when I was a teenager, there were, um, like girls when I was in school, who liked me and I didn't like them, because I was into whatever the it girl was at the time, right? So I think that's the case for a lot of blurs. They all kind of have like an it girl, that girl that they really, really like. Do I think that that's always the case? No, I don't, because I've seen situations where it wasn't that, and maybe the blur guy was just shy or he didn't have whatever kick to it, right? And usually when people have this discussion, it usually stops right there. Like, oh, there was one girl that liked you back in high school, so therefore everything that happened to you as a blur guy from then on out is, your fault. And I don't think it's really that black and white. I think it's a little bit. I think that there's a truth to that, and I also think that there are a lot of blur men people. Usually, I hear one of the criticisms is that don't um, take care of themselves. That don't um, wash up like they should. No offense if you ever gone to Youmacon, sometimes that gamer room be smelling like, you walked into, the abyss somewhere or something. I mean, it's a whole nother level of smell. Like a couple of skunks got together and had a baby. But do I think that equates to everyone? No. So I do think that's an issue that, a lot of blurred men have, is there's hygiene issues, and that could be a major reason as to why, that they have the problems that they do. But I don't think that that's the case at all, because I knew people who weren't like that, and they still had problems. So there's an obvious stigma, I think, that comes from being a blurred that I think sometimes um, in the community we're not willing to fully admit, because then it's almost like pointing blame, and saying, well, if these guys over here, were blurs and you didn't give them attention, then it's all your fault. And it's almost like people are trying to put everything just on, blurred women, for why maybe some of these guys have these issues or they're dealing with the things they do. And I don't think that that's really fair either, because, blurred women, have their own struggles, you know. Um, some blurred women are socially awkward. They have issues that they deal with or that they're struggling with or whatever. And if they're not the it girl, they may not get the attention that maybe a lot of their peers that may get, that fit that conventional attractiveness that people are looking for, especially a lot of guys are looking for. But I think what a lot of people up until recently looked at, I'm just gonna make up something like the it guy, if there is such thing, is there comes with a certain level of not just social status, but certain interests. Nowadays you could talk about a lot of blurred topics, and or I'm gonna say like talk about anime, manga, or walk in and talk about DC, Marvel, something like that, and it can be a starting topic in a room to generate conversation. I can remember back in the day doing that, and everyone would act like they had no idea what you're talking about, even though they knew what you were talking about. But everyone had to act like they didn't know. And I think for some people that affects self-esteem. Some of them that put them, in an awkward place, and because they didn't have that status, because they were in the topic that was not in the know at the time. Um, I think that that was very true. That seemingly those women, or we're going back to like back in the days, those girls or whatever did not like blurred guys. Maybe they did, but it wasn't the socially acceptable thing. I think as you get older, I can't speak for what happens now in school, but as you get older, if you're coming into, let's say your 30s or something like that, people's interests change. People, mature, they look at the past, and I don't think that it never was a thing that people looked at blurs as something that's unstable, but I think I kind of look at it like blur. People look at guys who tend to be on the blurtier side as the stable ones, and when they're looking for stability, that's what they choose later on. And that's never been no secret. That's nothing new per se. But I think um, now, like, a lot of blurred culture has become a lot more mainstream. So right now, blurs are like blurred men, and women are up. And then right now, you have kind of like a whole gatekeeping thing going on in the community, because I think the past is kind of coming back to bite us. So if you've had to be in a community from through thick and thin, from I don't know, like when something wasn't acceptable, then there comes a point where you are extra protective of it because you identify that community with your struggle. And it doesn't really feel fair that some people, can hop in and hop out of that space that you've had, that's had to intricately be a part of your day to day and who you are, and that you have essentially built the place, or been a part of building the place that, and the foundation that everyone else wants to join into. So, kind of going back to that topic, do I think blurty women love blurty men? I obviously don't know 100% because I'm not a woman, but given from when I talk to people, again, going back to that, talking to women, I think they do, but I don't. I think just like with blurred men, I think that um, I'm actually going to quote my friend Che with this. I think shallow desires, equals shallow results. So I think when a lot of people are younger, that's more prevalent then. And I think as you get older, in some cases, like for example, a lot of blurred guys, they might clean up a lot more, as they get older. And if they already were cleaned up, if they then it's gonna happen naturally anyway, where they come into their own and they get the chick, or they will get the chick. Now sometimes if they have awkward social tendencies that come from being in the culture, that can be difficult to overcome. I can even be a little bit um, at times I've been a little bit socially awkward myself. Not drastically, where I'm the weird kid walking up to someone and screaming and hollering or something like that. But I think because the blurred community has been an outcast community for a while, that's bound to be the case. So the only thing I kind of say is I think blurred men and blurred women should kind of show each other some grace when it comes to, if we're talking about in the dating sense, when it comes to that. Because sometimes it might just be due to lack of experience on why um, certain people may be a certain way in a dating sense, or, may not really know the certain social cues that they maybe should be expected to know, some would say at a certain age, but because they hadn't had the opportunities to get the experience that maybe they might have gotten, way back whenever. I mean, we know guys traditionally, try to, you know, go for, the woman's prize, the moment they have the chance. So, in terms of being sexually active, guys throw themselves probably a lot more at the prize than women do. Women get it all the time, where guys are, trying to chase after them in some kind of way, some kind of capacity. So that's just my take on it. But in any way, guys, give me your thoughts. I know I haven't put anything on this channel in a while. I didn't want to put this in the Shining Otaku channel just because this is something that's a little bit more of a topic that I think would be more in my personal interest, and I don't want to mix that up in what we do over there. But I am curious about what your guys' thoughts. I'm sure a lot of you guys on here have dealt with that. I've dealt with that. It's taken me a long time to come into my own, which is why I kind of say that. Um, some of it by choice, some of it not by choice. So it just depends on what aspect we're talking about. But anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Please subscribe to this channel, like this video, and comment with your thoughts down below. Make sure you check out Barbi Cosplay's video as well. And I will see you guys later.